Hey, welcome back to the Disney Plus Everyday Challenge, and we are in the middle of, well, not in the middle, we're almost in the middle of a 7-day straight celebration of the Disney Plus second anniversary. It's Disney Plus-iversary, something like that. Well, yeah, Simpsons called it a Plus-iversary on our previous episode. Well, 2 episodes ago. This is Shang-Chi and the Legend of the Ten Rings today. Obviously, it's from 2021. It only came out in the theaters back in September. It's 2 hours and 14 minutes long, and it is a Phase 4 film. It is very much, I don't know if, is Black Widow considered part of Phase 4? It kind of harkens back to the previous phases, but I don't know. I think Shang-Chi is technically the launch of the 4th phase of the Marvel Cinematic Universe, and that's kind of cool, considering hardly anybody knew who he was before this movie came out, except for comic book nerds like me, of course. We know this stuff. Look. The Deadly Hands of Kung Fu. It's yeah, that's Bruce Lee in the cover right there, but still, there's a Shang-Chi poster. It's a pinup. It's actually on the other side of the cover. But you're not going to take the cover off of that thing. Come on, that's a magazine from 1974. This thing's nearly 50 years old. Yeah, so it's kind of a big deal. Kind of the same way that Iron Man was kind of known to kids who watch Saturday morning cartoons the most, beyond the comic book people. They couldn't really have the technology to make an Iron Man TV series or special like they did back in the 70s and 80s with the Hulk, the Incredible Hulk, and have guest stars like Daredevil and Thor and everything else. You just put sort of special outfits on them and they look all right, but it's kind of more clunky to do an Iron Man thing. A guy in a total armor suit and not have it look horrible. We have digital effects now, and that's what made Iron Man, well, that's not the only thing that made him great, but Robert Downey Jr. contributed, I think. But in that sense, it made him a B or C level hero in the Marvel Universe and catapulted him to the most popular, one of the most popular. Spider-Man and the Hulk are still pretty much way up there. But in this case, I'm talking about Iron Man way too much. In this case, the Phase 4 starts out with a relatively unknown character and a guy who doesn't necessarily have superpowers when it starts out. He doesn't have the 10 rings. This is all about the 10 rings. It's all about the 10 rings that was actually introduced in the original Iron Man film, the terrorist organization, and then was followed up in Iron Man 3, but with an imposter. By the way, if you plan on watching Shang-Chi and you haven't watched every other Marvel film, you don't have to, but it's kind of important that you kind of watch Iron Man 3. I know some people have problems with it. I love it, personally, but you want to watch Iron Man 3 and All Hail the King, which is a short that is related to what happens after Iron Man 3, and connects very strongly to at least one character arc in Shang-Chi and the Legend of the Ten Rings. In this, we're introduced to Shang-Chi, or Sean. He's a valet in San Francisco, and he has no big aspirations except to hang out with his best friend, Katie, played by Awkwafina. I don't say his name properly. Simu Liu. I'm sure I said it wrong somehow. I'm super duper white, and I pronounce everything wrong, or American, as everybody else calls it. So yeah, we have Simu Liu and Awkwafina as our main characters, and he discovers that, we learn that he is connected to the 10 Rings in a big way. His father is the leader of it, and of course Awkwafina learns that along the way as well. She just figured he was just as ambitiousless as she is. And this is very much a film about finding your purpose, finding some kind of focus, and it's not always what you expect it to be. It's not always what everybody else expects it to be for you. So it's a little bit of a theme there. But yeah, it's obviously, if you have a movie about the master of kung fu, you gotta have a lot of fight scenes, and this one starts off pretty strong even before we before we even meet Shang-Chi. We get an amazing kind of a little bit of wire fu kind of thing from Crouching Tiger, Hidden Dragon kind of fighting, involving two people who are very important to Shang-Chi. I'm not going to spoil a whole lot here. Obviously, this movie is still fairly new. It's 2 years old. If you're wanting to watch this, you should be watching it before you listen to me. I mean, obviously, maybe you want to listen to me if you want a take on it. Yeah, I don't know. You want my opinion? You should watch it. That's the short end of it. Especially if you love Marvel Cinematic Universe and all the characters in it. This is obviously one more. And there is no end to them, as we've learned in this week in the Disney Plus Day, and all the things they debuted in the special recap of 2021 and what's to come in 2022 with Moon Knight, Ms. Marvel, She-Hulk, and so many more. So many more shows coming, and movies and things like that. So yeah, and that was just, they only focused on what's coming to Disney Plus. They didn't even talk about what's happening in the movies. So it's a big deal, and Shang-Chi is going to be right in the middle of it. I'm not going to give away the ending, but this film has a very strong connection to the Marvel Universe, that the characters that have come before him, and he is going to be very much part of what's to come. So I highly recommend this. Like I said, Simu Liu and Awkwafina are in this. Tony Leung, again, hope I said that right, plays Shang-Chi's father, and a certain Ben Kingsley makes an appearance. If you don't know why he's important, then I will not tell you. Michelle Yeoh is in this as well. She only shows up a little later in the film, but she is a very big part of this, and I have to admit, every time I see her, now that I've watched her on Star Trek, and she is a very devious character on there, on Star Trek Discovery, every single time I see her now, I do not trust her. She is one scary woman. I'm sure she's a lovely woman in real life, but the character she plays on Discovery is a little bit unsettling at times, but awesome. So when she comes here, you don't know whether you can trust her or not, for no reason. I mean, she comes across as a nice woman, but that makes you go, can you trust her? Because she's super nice. I don't know. Anyway, there's lots of action, lots of fight scenes. The bus chase scene and everything else is kind of amazing. Going down the hills of San Francisco in an out-of-control bus. Yeah, good times. We get to see a little bit of the underworld, more of the underworld in Macau. So this is very international. By the way, if you have a problem with subtitles and you don't know Chinese, I gotta tell you, there's a lot of subtitles in this. A lot, at least early on in the film. And in any situation where you don't have an English-speaking character in the scene, they don't have to speak English for you or me. They speak English, they speak Chinese, and it's translated. Weirdly enough, because of the special IMAX enhanced aspect ratio format, which makes the picture somewhat bigger, but it doesn't make a big deal if you're watching on your phone or your tablet or something. Pick the biggest TV in your house. If it's super nice, if it's at least 4K, watch it there, and you'll notice that this and a number of other newer Marvel films are all IMAX enhanced. So you might get a little extra perk out of that. Because of this, though, the subtitles on the screen seem to be a little bit higher than they need to be. I don't know why, but they're like, usually you'd figure they're down towards the middle of the screen. They're about a quarter to a third of the way up the middle of the picture, which to me was a little unsettling. Distracting. I still have to read it because they're speaking Chinese. I don't know Chinese. So it's important to see those words, but it's just weird that it covered the screen at a strange spot. So yeah, we get introduction of some new villains and some old villains. We get Razor Fist, which is a guy who is literally, yes, of course he came from the Marvel Comics. We also get to see a peek. We saw this in the trailer, so I'm not really spoiling anything, and he doesn't play an important part in this movie whatsoever, but it's a hint of things to come. The Abomination shows up from Incredible Hulk movie that most of us have forgotten about. It was where Banner was played by Edward Norton. So, yeah, Abomination's in there. And he's fighting Wong, which has a connection to Doctor Strange. This is one of the strange films because it's not just about Kung Fu. It's not about one specific level of filmmaking. I mean, obviously Marvel has all sorts of different types of films. They're not just superhero films. We have a war film with Captain America: The First Avenger. We have obviously a big crossover type of epic event film with the Avengers films. We have Thor, which is fantasy, sci-fi fantasy. We have magic. We have sci-fi with Captain Marvel, and of course the later Avengers films with a lot of the big space things. Oh, of course, Guardians of the Galaxy as well. So we have a lot of different genres being played with each of these characters in each of these films, and you figure, oh well, this is just a kung fu film. And yeah, it has a lot of kung fu. It has a lot of fighting. There's lots of just beautifully choreographed fight scenes throughout, between a number of different characters. That you're like, well, what would happen if this guy would fight this person? Well, you get to see that, and it makes you kind of eager to find out how he would stand up against somebody like the Black Panther, which we will probably never get to properly see, or Captain America. Who else can he fight? I mean, who's on his level? I don't know. Will Iron Fist make it to the MCU at some point? Will Danny Rand or a different Iron Fist make his way into the MCU? We'll see. But yeah, it's a kung fu film, but it has fantasy elements. It hints at some sci-fi elements. 10 Rings are a mystery all their own. Where did they come from? Why do they have this kind of power? Is it, they're not the Infinity Gauntlet or the Infinity Gems or anything else, but there's lots of strange things out there. And we just saw Eternals recently. Could it have a connection to the Eternals? Who knows? There's a lot of different things. And yeah, maybe it's all figured out in the comics and things like that. But actually, the 10 Rings in the comics were not like bracelets. They were more actual rings that were worn on the fingers, and they all had different powers and abilities. A freeze one, a fire one, and other things like that, which is a little bit too close to the Infinity Gauntlet, but with elements and things. There's other ones, I can't remember all of them, but yeah, it seemed a little bit redundant. So these are, the rings themselves have a different kind of power set and a different origin. It might be interesting to find out where they come from. And this one's called The Legend of the Ten Rings. Wouldn't it be neat if we got a Shang-Chi film and it was Deadly Hands of Kung Fu? That'd be kind of cool. So, it was loud. So yeah, there's lots to look forward to this. This is kind of a foundational film that for the Phase 4 arc, and it's going to be interesting to see how he fits together with characters like the Guardians or whatever comes out of the Guardians after Volume 3. Ms. Marvel, Captain Marvel, and Wanda and Vision and Doctor Strange, and so much more. And Spider-Man. We're going to see a multiverse of madness very soon. Who knows what could come out of it? But it will leave Shang-Chi with plenty of people to fight, I'm pretty sure. So, yeah, if you haven't seen this yet in theaters, maybe it wasn't the kind of thing you really felt you needed to go risk your life to see if you didn't get vaccinated yet, then hey, it's now on Disney Plus. You have Disney Plus, I would think. Otherwise, why would you be watching me talk about Disney Plus, things that you cannot have if you do not have a subscription? By the way, I hear that you can subscribe for $2 this month. $2. And you get a chance to see Shang-Chi. And it's only for a limited time, but I'm not shilling it because they're not paying me. I don't work for them. Let's talk about Netflix. I don't know. We can talk about whatever we want. But anyway, it's a great cast. It's lots of great action, and it has a big final act battle that I was not expecting, and I will not spoil it, but it goes a little bit beyond just guys punching and kicking each other. It's a real high stakes kind of thing, and we get to see a lot of different characters and people come into play toward the end. Again, I can't, because it's so new. I mean, if this movie was 40 years old, I'd be blabbing spoilers left and right, but it's still kind of new for a lot of people, and I don't want to ruin it for you. So, but definitely stay for the mid-credit sequence, and definitely stay for the after-credit sequence. This is, you know how they, like with James Bond films, they always say James Bond will return, and they did it with the Avengers films. The Avengers will return, even though it looked like, you know, they were all half of them are dead at the end of Infinity War, or Guardians, or things like that. The Eternals even says the Eternals will return, even though crazy crap that went down in that one. This one doesn't say Shang-Chi will return, but he will. It's obvious. It's very obvious. But what it says at the end as to will return, well, you have to watch at the very end to find out. And in what capacity, and how, and why. It's part of the story. It's part of the mystery. It's part of the fun of it all. So that's all I got to say about Shang-Chi and the Legend of the Ten Rings. Check it out as soon as you can in the IMAX enhanced version. I imagine that's sticking around forever. It's not an 8-story tall screen, unfortunately. That's what IMAX used to mean, but now you're gonna have IMAX in your home. It's just aspect ratio change. That's it. Slightly more screen. That's it. Less black bars top and bottom if your TV isn't properly formatted. Anyway, next thing we're going to watch is not random. I picked this out. That's what I'm doing. 7 days straight of brand new things on Disney Plus to celebrate their 2nd anniversary. And I'm mixing it up with a bunch of different things. We did, obviously, The Simpsons on the first day. We did Under the Helmet with Boba Fett yesterday. We did Shang-Chi today. And tomorrow we're doing Olaf Presents from Frozen 2. This is a nice little follow-up to one of my favorite moments from that film. It's a series of shorts. So we'll check that out tomorrow. I'll see you back here tomorrow with Olaf Presents on the Disney Plus Everyday Challenge.